You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real crime.
Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. Now, today, y'all, I'm going to be continuing Justice for Kim Womack, but I had not planned on doing this episode, to be honest with you, okay? When I sat down with the family members and we did like at least 5 hours worth of recording, 6 hours maybe, I don't know. But you've heard 4 of the episodes already, if you've listened. And what happened was, after, we've been building a story as it goes along, but after episode 4, there are so many questions, and I get it, right? There's so many questions that people are now becoming invested once they heard the detective on the phone trying to explain everything away. And so I talked to Catherine Womack, Kim's daughter, and about the crime scene photos and the autopsy photos and what I believe we needed to do, because I believe wholeheartedly that as much as y'all are upset and about the way, or I shouldn't say the way the detective talked about the things the detective talked about, ultimately trying to say it's an accident, whatever, but we'll get to that. I believe, and Catherine, Kim's daughter, agrees with me that we need to release some of the photographs of the crime scene to the public, so you can see how ridiculous it is that they're trying to say that this was an accident. Now, it's kind of uncharted waters for me, okay? There's 109 crime scene photos, crime scene and autopsy photos, which is a stupid low amount of photographs, all right? Every time I would work a homicide, I would tell the guys, hey, you photograph it like it's, or anything major, I'd say you photograph it like it's a homicide. You shoot it from every corner, every angle, every possible position. Because this is it. When you go back, especially if you're coming back all these years later, that all you have are the photographs, okay? Well, as in everything else in this case, they fucked it up. And they only shot 109 photographs between the outside of the trailer and the autopsy. But what I want to do, and what I'm going to do, is I'm going to pick about 3 or 4 pictures. I haven't decided yet. I'm still working on it, of Kim Womack's body. And I'm going to put them in the Real Life, Real Crime Community app. And there's a reason for that. The main reason being, if I put this shit on Facebook, they'd ban me forever. Okay. She is nude. The injuries are horrific, and Facebook would absolutely just blow up if I put it on there. So we're going to put it in the Real Life, Real Crime Community app. As you know, I'm the only one who censors that. Now, I'm only going to release 3 or 4 ones that I think are pertinent, which will be of her body and the injuries to it, and to the general public. Everybody will be able to log into the app, go and click on it. I think you might have to subscribe, but it's free. Don't worry about it. In the general feed, it's going to be a spot where these photographs are going to be released. Okay. But today I'm going to describe them to you. For those of you who don't want to go to the app and see them, I'm going to describe them to you. Now, the rest of the photographs, the rest of the 100 and something that I'm going to have, I'm going to put in the app for convicts. Okay. And you know, as a convict, patron members, I can't put it on the patron only Facebook page, even though you signed a thing saying that you would not share anything from there. Well, you have to do the same thing when you're a convict. Okay. But patron members, they would absolutely shut that page down. I cannot put these photographs in there. That horrific. But all the rest of the photographs will be put up for convicts. But the ones I'm going to release to the general public, I'm going to describe them to you today, and I want to talk to you about most of the things that the detective said to Catherine, which are just, I don't get it. All right. But let's start with it. Okay. So Catherine, you first of all, y'all know that I got the call order wrong during that long day of recording with Catherine and Miss Frida. So Kim had called for the sheriff, left him a voicemail. She called for the detective, got him on the phone, and that's the recording you heard last week, the one I'm going to talk about today. And while she was on the phone with the detective, the sheriff called her back. But when she got off the phone with the detective, she called the cold case squad, and they said they had not concluded it was an accident, which is what the detective told her. Then she called the sheriff back later on, and he says the same thing. He said, well, he actually said more. He said 2 different people told him that they had concluded it was an accident. I will also be releasing to the general public through the Real Life, Real Crime Community app the email that proves that the cold case had not called it an accident. They were still actively working on Kim Womack's case. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why the sheriff said what he said. I don't know why the detective said what he said, but I'm about to tell you what Woody Overton says. Okay. And I hadn't planned on doing this, but I think it's important. And as hard as it is for the family members to let these pictures of Kim Womack be posted because they're so bad. Now, I'm going to redact anything like nipples or anything that could be construed as sexual, but you just have to see them, people. And I'm going to describe them to you today. But let's talk about the phone call. So she gets the detective on the phone and starts out talking in general terms about the DNA samples. Okay. Now, I have the autopsy photos, and those will be up for the convicts. And the autopsy photos show Kimberly Womack's hands were bagged properly, just like I would have done had I been on the scene. I would have made sure her hands were bagged so we can get DNA out from underneath the fingernails. But when Catherine questions the detectives about the 2 requests for more additional DNA that were made by the cold case squad, the detective explains that, well, he's talking about the one lady. He said, well, what happened on that case was they got her there to do the autopsy, and they realized, fuck me, we don't have any fingernail clippers. So one of the ladies that works for the coroner's office said, well, you know what? I've got my fingernail clippers. Why don't you use them? And her DNA came back underneath Kimberly Womack's fingernails. Y'all, get the fuck out of here. Okay? I don't know where this autopsy was done, but it can't have been that far from a Dollar General store or a Walgreens or something where they could have gone and bought a fucking pair of fingernail clippers. Absolutely ludicrous. I mean, I've never heard of anything like that. All right. So it doesn't matter if they came back with 10 different kinds of DNA, if 10 different people had raped and murdered Kimberly Womack, the fact is that that evidence is lost because you used a pair of personal fingernail clippers that you've already used to clip the fingernails of the victim. Now, remember, at this time, it's called a homicide. The coroner called it a homicide from day one. That's where you heard Catherine talking about Tony Clayton on a phone call allegedly saying that he went out on the scene. He's the one that told him to call it an accident. And she was like, I thought you were a JD, not an MD, right? But evidently they thought something was wrong. I mean, the coroner said, screw you, I'm calling it a homicide. And they did it enough where they bagged her hands, okay? But the fact that you then take her to the autopsy and you use personal fingernail clippers, and I'm not throwing shade on the lady that offered up her fingernail clippers. I'm sure she was just trying to help. I'm throwing shade on whoever the fuck was running that autopsy, and that not necessarily the pathologist. There's a reason that law enforcement sits in on these autopsies. Whoever was there representing law enforcement should have had enough sense to say, fuck no, you can't use your own personal fingernails, clippers. Let me take 5 minutes and go down the street and get some that y'all can take a picture of me open the box so you know they're sterile, right? I'll never understand that, and it just absolutely blows my mind. So he explained it, and he was honest about it. Kudos to you, detective, being honest. And it wasn't his case, obviously. He was like, well, that's why her DNA was underneath there, okay? But there was another individual that they were requesting more DNA, another DNA sample from. Detective didn't know dick about it, right? I mean, let's go back and listen to part 4. And he was like, well, I don't know. Are you talking about the same person? I don't know. I'll have to look at that. Well, how the fuck you don't know that you have a request back from the crime lab saying, hey, we need a DNA sample from this person? Don't you think if they're requesting a sample from the person, and this person was a neighbor to the victim, don't you think if they're requesting a sample that you should know that? Well, you would know it had you been keeping up with the file, had you been reading everything. All right. He knew dick about it. And as far as we know, to this date, that person's DNA has never been submitted. He didn't even know why they were asking for it. He said, well, I know they swabbed a lot of people for DNA, and they swabbed a lot of people. That doesn't hey motherfucker, that doesn't answer anything. There is a specific request in the case file for you to go get, or whoever's handling this case, to go get DNA from this person. Okay? It could be to exclude them or include them, whatever. Doesn't know anything about it. All right, I'm going to go on to the next one. And y'all, I'm skipping around because there's so much shit that jumps into my head. Hey, y'all, there's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to hair care. A product that works wonderful curls might make straight hair limp and greasy. My personal problem with hair is my scalp's a little dry, and so I have to use all these different conditioners and dry shampoo or whatever. Well, that's until I found Pros. So thanks to my personalized Pros routine, I can honestly say I've never been more in love with my hair. Pros makes custom hair care that's effective because it's personal. Using natural ingredients with proven results, Pros customizes every product in your routine from shampoo to supplements. First, Pros starts by asking you about you as a person with their in-depth consultation. Pros ask me really unexpected things like, what zip code do I live in? What are my eating habits? How damaged is my hair? How much do I exercise? Plus a plethora of regular hair questions, right? Next, pros analyzed all my answers and determined what unique blend of ingredients should be in every product of my custom routine. Together, pros got all my hair care goals covered. I personally use the custom pre-shampoo scalp mask, y'all. I put it on before I use the shampoo, and it helps moisturize my scalp. Then I use my own custom shampoo, and it's perfect. It leaves my hair just right. But to finish it off, I use my own custom conditioner made by Pros. As a carbon neutral certified B Corp, Pros is an industry leader in clean and responsible beauty. All their ingredients are sustainably sourced, ethically gathered, and cruelty-free. They're also the first custom beauty brand to go carbon neutral. If you're not 100% positive Pros is the best hair care you've had, they will take the products back, no questions asked. Pros is the healthy hair regimen with your name all over it. Take your free in-depth hair consultation and get 15% off your first order today. Go to pros.com/RLRC. That's PROSE.com/RLRC for your free in-depth hair consultation and 15% off. Catherine, the daughter, says, hey, I think that two people, maybe it was a landlord, whatever, whoever they were, and she gave their names. She said, I think that, they were acting sketchy. And in the past episodes, when she would try to interject her thoughts like, well, I was in the room with the detectives and they looked at each other funny. I thought maybe this, they were thinking that. I was like, no. They could have been thinking anything, right? So you got a grieving daughter. She sees these people and maybe she feels like, she sees something, the person won't look at them or whatever. But you know what? That could be for a multitude of reasons. It could be because the person is really distraught about Kim being murdered. Who knows? But it doesn't mean they're the murderer, right? But she gives her true, heartfelt information on, hey, you need to talk to these people. What does the detective say? He said, well, you know what? They certainly are sketchy. And especially talking about the wife. He said everything she did was sketchy from the get-go. And then Catherine tells him, well, I think they're separated or going towards a divorce or something like that. And he's like, well, I'm bringing him in and pull it out and see what's underneath the rug after all this time. I believe I could get him to talk if he's local. I believe I could. He's saying basically, good idea, right? And he's going to handle that. Placating Catherine? Probably. But then you don't hear dick else about that, right? And who knows if that's ever been done to this day. But if you are the detective and you have this case file and you think they're sketchy and everything they did, you said it, everything they did is sketchy from day one, like really sketchy. Listen to his voice and the way he says it. Why haven't you interviewed him already? Why haven't you done this? Catherine goes on to say, well, where are we now in the investigation? And he says, well, being that, I'm paraphrasing, y'all, summarizing, being that the cold case squad is handling, I just kind of let them do their thing. And that way, when they get done, I can figure out where the best to concentrate my efforts. What the fuck? All right. You already admitted you didn't know about the second person's DNA request that they want from more DNA from that person. Secondly, you admit that you think these people are super duper sketchy from the get-go and that everything they did was sketchy, yet you haven't talked to them. Nothing. Now you're passing it off on the cold case squad and like, I'm just kind of sitting back waiting on them. All right. But then he goes into some of the people that he's talked to at the cold case squad, or he says, I brought in all different kinds of experts. I can't see all whether they were with the cold case squad or not, but not blood spatter, but blood pattern expert. And he says, well, due to the injuries and to your mom from her medical condition. He kept saying medical condition, medical condition. He said, but due to their injuries and the photographs we had to go off of, the blood expert says she wasn't killed inside that trailer, that due to the loss of blood, that there would be, you know, spots on the wall. I'm paraphrasing y'all, spots on the wall, cast off, right? If you hit somebody with a hammer, then you're going to have blood spatter and throw off with a hammer going down, blood going that way. You yank it back to hit them again. Axe, whatever it may be, you yank it back to hit it again, you're going to be throwing blood behind you and all that. And he's like, well, and that expert says that with the pictures that of the inside of the trailer, there's no way that amount of blood was found inside the trailer. She had to be killed somewhere else and brought there. Okay, let's talk about that. All right. One, it's totally possible that she's killed somewhere else and brought there and dumped naked on this unused bed in the back bedroom, air conditioners turned on when they leave, right? I get that. That's totally possible. But what about cleanup? They never luminoled anything. I mean, there's some straight drops of blood that fall straight, evidently straight down on the floor in the hallway, you know, and there's some little spots of blood, which are not high velocity blood spatter, right? But what the fuck? Nobody ever luminol to see if the trailer had been clean. She'd been down for estimated several days. Even if they moved her in, they could have came back after us and be like, holy shit, we could clean it up. You don't know because you didn't test it. Again, not this detective's fault. He wasn't there, but it wasn't done, y'all. And so what do you do about that? But he kept saying all the amount of her injuries and everything, they felt like she definitely wasn't killed inside that residence. And then he goes on to talk about one of the ladies from New York says, well, just like, okay, so Kim's cause of death, and besides it being listed as a homicide, was the blow to the head and the subdural hematoma in the back of her head, which I'm going to put up. And it's probably going to be on for the convicts, but I may share that one to the general public and on top of the rest of the beatings and the bruises and the cuts this lady has on her. But they actually open up the skull like you do in an autopsy, and you can see clearer than shit the back side of her skull is absolutely destroyed on the inside. When they open it up, you can see, I mean, it looks like a brain in a science class, right? But in the back, it's mush. Brown, dark black blood mush from where her brain was hit with such force, probably from the front blow, but it rocked back with such force, it just busted inside her head. All right. And he wants to talk about that. Well, she told me she had a victim that was hit in the head with an axe, walked outside, picked up her newspaper, turned and waved at the neighbor and walked back inside and fell dead. That her brain was on autopilot. That's what it was. Her brain was on autopilot. And your mama's brain could have been on autopilot because of her medical condition. She could have been on autopilot and stumbled and fell and hurt herself and just went in the back bedroom and laid down and died. Fuck that. Okay? Fuck that. That's one of the reasons I'm going to release these pictures. You're going to shit when you see this. Okay? I can understand if you'd fallen once and hit your head or something like that, and then you went and laid down and died. This lady Kim Womack has injuries all fucking over her. All right? Front and back. And I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them. When you hear this, the few select pictures that I'm going to show you of the injuries will be in the Real Life Real Crime Community app, and the rest of all the pictures are going to be put up, locked up, and because they're unimportant. They're not unimportant. They're important, but they're just more gruesome than anything. I'm going to show the select few of injuries, and they're horrible. Don't get me wrong, but I want everybody in the world to be able to see it, to go there and see this and see how ridiculous it is that they're saying, well, she could have hit her head and then got up and kept falling down and doing all this stuff. But wait a minute, buddy. You just said there's no blood in the trailer. that matches that injury. You just said due to the extent of her injuries, it had to happen somewhere else because the blood doesn't match inside the crime scene. What the fuck is it? Is it an accident? You honestly think she got all these injuries? Have you ever looked at these photographs? You honestly think she got all these injuries because she fell once and hit her head and then she kept falling? But if she had, where's the blood? It's not there. The fucking injuries are there. The injuries are everywhere. But you're saying it's an accident. And then, I know I'm paraphrasing, y'all. Then he goes into like, well, you know, they don't know about her medications. And he kept saying medical condition. Never defined it. At one point, Catherine's like, when you say medical condition, are you talking about her nosebleeds? Yeah, that's what she had, thin blood, and she would sometimes get nosebleeds. That's the medical condition. There was no blood medicine for it. You know, then he starts talking about, well, and they don't know if she was on all her medications and she was drinking alcohol. There were daiquiri cups in the thing. And she was taking all her medications. You know, if we'd have had all the pill bottles and so we could count and see when they got filled and all. Hey, motherfucker, I've got the photographs of all the pill bottles. But first of all, that doesn't make a dick. It doesn't matter what pill bottles she had. It matters what was in her toxicology report. And what's in the toxicology report states a caffeine pill, Darvocet, which is nothing. I don't even think they make it anymore. It was like a mild pain pill. And Celexa or something like that. It's like Prozac. It's a mood stabilizer, like, you know, for chemical imbalances. It has nothing to do with it's not like it's Oxycontins and or morphine or some shit like that, right? That's what's in her system. There's no alcohol in her system. Again, and he was like, oh, well, she said if she was mixing all her medications with alcohol, then this could have caused her to fall. Well, guess what? There's no alcohol in her system. She wasn't drinking. And had she been drinking with the stuff that she had in her system, it doesn't make you fall down. It doesn't make you do all these injuries to yourself. Okay? And I'm going to get into the injuries in a minute. I'm on my horse right now. Let me roll with it. But he kept going on and saying that. And then he says, well, I talked to another lady, and I don't know if these two ladies ever met, but she kind of said the same thing. And then she said that you better be glad I wasn't hired on the defense side because I'd have a field day because, you know, you got people standing on the bed mattress taking pictures and all that. Y'all, I have every one of these 109 pictures and never does it show somebody standing on the mattress, and it just doesn't. Okay. But that's neither here nor there. And she was like, you know, you have a field day, what have you, and the blood's not in the residence, and you know, she must have caused these injuries to herself because her medical condition. You know, maybe she fell once and hit her head and then kept falling. If that's the case, where's the blood? When you see these pictures, you're going to shit. You're going to shit. In so many words, he's saying that two different people are saying that she fell, hit her head, then she continued to fall, causing all the rest of these injuries. Now listen to this. Here's a fucking kicker. Obviously, she died from subdural hematoma to the back of the brain, where basically her brain exploded from the force of the brain hitting the back of the skull. Get that. How you would live or move beyond that, I have no idea. I just don't think it can happen. And I'm probably going to put that picture up for everybody. So obviously, she died when her brain basically exploded on the back of the skull from the subdural hematoma. And when you see that in the autopsy photo, you'll understand that I don't see how anybody could sustain that injury and move again, period. And even the other experts that he talked to said, hey, yeah, that's, you know, what killed her, right? But here's the deal, and it's in the photos, people, and it's in the autopsy report. Kim Womack had broken ribs on top of the subdural hematoma on her skull, in the back of the skull, on top of the looks like an axe wound to the front of her skull, on top of all the injuries, cuts on her back, her legs, and everything else. She's got broken ribs, people, and a punctured lung. Punctured lung is not what killed her. Now, you get a punctured lung, you're not going to live that long. All right. You get broken ribs that puncture your lung, you're not going to live that long. But that one blow that blew up basically, for lack of a better term, blew up the back of her skull, caused a subdural hematoma where the brain, it's a bruising of the brain, but then in this case, it hit with such force, it just busted the brain wide open. You can't function. There's no fucking autopilot after that blow. All right. I agree that the amount of blood necessary for all these injuries is not inside that residence, according to these photos. I agree with that 1,000%. I do not agree with that she caused these injuries to herself, but you're going to get to be the judge, because I'm going to show you the pictures with the family's permission. And somebody out there knows something. Ultimately, y'all, this is not about who fucked up what. It's about justice for Kim Womack. And so the reason I want everybody to start sharing this series is I'm going to do one more episode after this one. And then I'm doing a call to action. And we are going to make somebody do something. Okay? Don't tell me you don't know that there's a request for more DNA in the file. That just means you hadn't fucking looked at it. Don't tell me, oh yeah, I can bring them in and I feel like I can get them to confess. They were sketchy from day one. But fuck, if they were sketchy from day one, why aren't you on their ass? If it was your fucking mama, you'd do it. You know? What the fuck, people? This is, I don't understand. I get these requests from these cases around the world every day, and I look at shit like this and it just makes me want to puke. And I understand the buck gets passed. New sheriffs come in and all that stuff, and new detectives get the case. But God damn it, if you get this case and you look at it and you think somebody's super fucking sketchy, handle your business. Go get them. Go talk to them. Go try to yank their chain. Like you said, pull up the rug, see what comes out. Do your fucking job. Go get know when the crime lab wants DNA samples. Hey, true crime fans, I know you like to hear stuff that's twisted and gruesome. Well, let me tell you something that's really sickening. 9 out of 10 Americans suffer from some type of gut issue. Gas, bloating, diarrhea, acid reflux, and it's so common you think it's part of your normal life. But 80% of your immune system lives in your gut, meaning if your gut's unhealthy, you have weak immunity. Probiotics are supposed to be the best way to support the gut. However, research shows that 99.9% of the probiotics die in your naturally harsh stomach acid before they get where they need it to go. That is what makes Just Thrive probiotics so revolutionary. Proprietary formula is designed by nature to protect itself when conditions get rough. Studies have proven that Just Thrive probiotic arrives 100% alive in your gut, making them uniquely effective for gas, constipation, and bloating, and providing the much-needed immune support. Vegan-friendly, gluten-free, dairy-free, histamine-free, and non-GMO. Safe for just about any age, including moms-to-be. Endorsed by some of the biggest health luminaries on the planet. So to give your body the crucial immune and digestive support and feel your best, there's nothing like the award-winning Just Thrive probiotic. Get 15% off. Go to justthrivehealth.com and use code RLRC at checkout. That's justthrivehealth.com and use code RLRC at checkout to get 15% off. And let's go back to that. the cold case squad says, hey, we can send all your shit to the FBI. They're talking directly to the detective. They got the latest and the greatest. And he's like, my shit's at Louisiana State Police Crime Lab. And I get that. That's where I send all my stuff, y'all. And he's like, he tells her it's going to take another 6 months or whatever. And they're going to go back through everything with a fine tooth comb and new equipment. Hey, I get that. But what does it matter if the State Police Crime Lab goes back through with a fine tooth comb when you're not looking at the fucking file? They've already sent a request for more DNA sample from somebody who could be a possible suspect. You don't fucking know because you don't know what their name is. And you hadn't interviewed people that are sketchy. And then you're trying to tell this family member that because of this medical condition that 2 other people have told you it's more than likely she fell, she hit her head, then she kept falling and falling and falling and causing all these injuries. But at the same time, you said there's the expert says there's not enough blood in the residence for her to have received all those injuries there. And that's a fact. What are you going to do? Where are you at? I know I'm forgetting a lot of shit. Go back and listen to episode 4. What I want to do now is I'm going to start describing some of these pictures. I haven't decided exactly which ones I'm going to put up because some of them I have to cut some nudity out of them. But the nude parts, y'all, like on the breast and stuff, that's not a big deal as far as the injuries go. But I don't do trauma porn, right? And there's actually a term for where people that get off on looking at death scenes and shit. And I've never done it. And don't want to do it. But this case, it has to be done because as pissed off as people are hearing the conversations and how ludicrous they are, wait until you see these pictures. All right. So what I'm going to do now, I've got the pictures in front of me, and Kim Womack is laying. There's a bed, and they said it was back bedroom. Okay. And I'm looking at the actual cups that they're saying are daiquiri cups. Well, guess what? They don't say daiquiri on them, y'all. It's just 2 white styrofoam cups with straws sticking out of them. One has a blue straw sticking out. One has a white. They don't say daiquiri. If you go to the drive-through daiquiri place, you're getting 9 times out of 10 or 99% of the time, you're getting a cup with their logo on it, right? With a daiquiri place. Kim was famous for eating chipped ice or shaved ice. This could have been from a snowball stand, her stopping and getting a cup of ice. I don't know. But anyway, this is a back bedroom that supposedly she didn't use. But she's laying face up with her head sideways across the bed towards the top of the bed with her head hanging where she's looking, with her head hanging off just a little bit, about halfway off the bed, and where she's looking at what would be the doorway coming into the room. Now she's got blood coming out of her nose. And this one I really don't understand. So she had to move at least a little bit because she's got blood coming out of her nose that is draining down like gravity would have it drain. But then she's got blood coming out of the bottom left-hand side of her mouth. That's going away from gravity, from the way the body's found. And when you see the picture, you'll understand what I'm talking about. In her forehead, she has this huge, I don't know what you call it, other than a cut. And I mean, I've never seen, it's not round, it's long. It's probably a 1/4 to 1/2 inch wide. And it goes from just under her hairline almost down to say a 1/2 inch away from her eyes. And let's talk about her eyes. Her eyes are fucking swollen shut. I mean, certainly she's dead, right? But her eyes are swollen like eggs. Okay? This is just the one picture I'm looking at. Looking down her shoulder, what would be her right shoulder, bruising. And little indents of bruising. It looked like fingerprints. It's been my experience in the past. These, if you grab somebody with enough force with your fingerprints, you leave those round, circular dots on the body if you grab them hard enough to bruise them. Going down her right arm, there's a big gash. I mean, there's more bruising all the way down. And there's a big gash right before her right arm is folded up a crease just below her right breast, and there is a gash that runs horizontally in her arm. I don't know what it's from. I don't know where the blood's at. Don't know. Go down the rest of her arm, and it's bruised all the way down. And it's certainly, you cannot cause all this bruising to yourself. You can see what appears to be finger marks. You can see extensive bruising bigger than that. Even her right hand has a bruise on it. Coming to her other side, her shoulder, left shoulder, it's tore up. Right above in the armpit, there's another, appears to be a slash or an abrasion. And I don't see too much. I see there's like blood on in between her breast, but it's not, I don't know what you would classify that as. I can't tell really from the pictures. It looks like maybe little small wounds, but it may be blood that has been wiped up. I can't really tell, and I'm not going to speculate on it. You can be the judge when you see it. All right, oh my God, look at this one from the side. This is a better one. Underneath her head. Okay, so now they're taking the picture like from the doorway, looking directly at her. Her eyeballs look like softballs, y'all. And there's that split right in the middle of her forehead. And you can see the blood draining down gravity-wise, like I told you. And there's a small puddle of it on the box spring. So the mattress is slid over about 6 inches. There's a small puddle of blood on the box spring. And there's blood coming out of her, dried blood, y'all, coming out of her mouth. But there's 2 spots where the blood goes against gravity. Now, you've explained that one to me when you see the pictures. I'll never get it. I'll never get it. Her arms, let's talk about her right elbow. It is absolutely, her whole right arm is covered in bruises and a few more of those cuts, like the one I told you right above the elbow. There's another one. Shit, it almost looks like a knife stab wound to me. That's what it looks like a knife tip stabbing in. And I'm speculating, y'all, but I'm telling you what I'm calling it. It's in shape. It's like in the shape of the damn knife blade, a tip of a knife going in. Her elbow, the bottom of her elbow, I don't even know what you classify this as. It's not a cut, but evidently the skin is torn from that spot. I don't get it. It's not anything that I've seen before. But above that is severe bruising, and now the body hadn't been moved, y'all. This is how they found it. It's certainly not lividity. It's the same dark red blood that's coming out of her nose and her mouth on her elbows. Go down a little bit further. Let's go down to her hips. Her right hip, severe bruising. Also on the right hip, it looks like fucking slash marks. I mean, it's the same thing up on her upper arms and her forehead. It's like almost like a V-shaped slash. And this is on top of the bruising, people. And there's one higher up on her hip. Looks like an abrasion on top of bruising. Go down to her legs, her right leg. I'm like, this is her body untouched. I'm starting at the bottom of her feet, okay, going up. There's bruising. There's a scratch mark. There's some more of those dark red spots, which could be penetration. I don't know how you classify those. They certainly fucking don't belong there. I can tell you that. And there's some blood. There's some blood on the mattress where that would be coming. So I'm guessing this is a cut that's on her foot and on her ankle because there's some blood by it on the mattress. All right. Go up her leg and there's more scratches, bruises. You get up to her knees and they're shredded. I mean, there's too many bruises. And yes, there's some of those bruises. If I put my hand on it right now, it would look like my fingerprints. And it's the same way with what I can see on the other leg from here. At some point, they rolled her over. Her left arm, which I had not got to tell you about yet. I told you about her right arm. So they got her rolled over, face partially down. All right. The back, you can see where the lividity set in. I get that. That's a totally different type bruising than the bruising on the arms and all that. Remember lividity, whenever your heart stops pumping, your blood follows gravity, okay? And it goes to the lowest point in your body, and it looks like severe bruising. Well, there are there are cuts on her back, y'all. If that's not a fucking stab wound or a slice mark, I don't know what is. And I don't know how anybody in the world could come up with anything different than that. And there's several of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe she was on that mattress not long. Look on her. Hold on, she's facing down. On her facing down, it would be her back of her right shoulder. Another what appears to be hole in it, and you go down the back, and it's just cut marks, cut marks, cut marks. Now, if I show you this picture, and I'm sure I'll show at least one of her back, you can see that she has the imprints from the bed itself, no sheet. It has the imprints from the bed in her back. So do I believe she was put there right after death? Absolutely. And I think that the blood going out against gravity away from her mouth proves that, but this really proves it. I mean, look, I'm looking at the mattress and I'm looking at her back. She has the same imprints in her skin, but that didn't cause these slice wounds. And damn it, you want to tell me what you ran into in your house that caused, and I'm guessing they're cuts that causes all these different cuts. Not talking about the bruises. I'm talking about the cuts that go up and down this lady's back. I mean, if you're like the lady from New York and you go outside and you pick up a newspaper and you come back in and fall dead, how do you cut yourself this many times? Unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And the back of the left arm is just shredded. The elbow, several tears in it. And again, you can see the circular round bruising. And my God, if that's not fingerprints, then I don't know what is, from being grabbed forcefully around the arms. But it's tears. It's tearing. And where's the blood at, people? It damn sure wasn't on the mattress from that. These cuts, the cuts on the back, if that's what it is, it's just not there. I agree with the experts. There is no blood on that bed that supports all these injuries. Was she moved there and then stripped? Very possible. If you say she's next door or wherever, and they beat the hell out of her, they do whatever, they gang attack her. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm speculating. But if you get this and you get all this blood, I mean, shit. Maybe you're worried that your DNA is on her clothes, so you take the clothes off and you put her naked in the back of the bed, in the back bedroom, put her underneath the air conditioner so she won't stink for a couple of days. All right, now I'm looking at the bare spot on the bed. Now, this is going to help me. This absolutely goes with the fact that she probably took her final breath on this bed. So I don't know how you beat somebody like that and bring them in, but you can see the bed is soiled where when you die, your body releases your bodily fluids, and there's a spot. I'm assuming I know that's where her pelvic region was laying, and there's a spot that's wet from that. But as far as blood, no way, man. There's a little bit of blood smear on the bed. There's a little bit of the blood I told you to drain from the head, but there's nothing. A little bit from down by the foot, but there's nothing that supports those type of injuries. And y'all, all the stuff they talk about, the chocolate syrup and all that, and 2 things of chocolate syrup. Well, you know what? That could have been from whenever. I mean, Catherine told you her mama was not a neat person, and takes all kinds to make the world go around. This trailer, all the stuff I'm looking at, it's very cluttered. The pill bottles the detective talked about, well, we don't know how much medicine she was taking when they're right there in the photographs, or when the last time she got them filled was, or she was taking it every day. Again, doesn't have dick to do with what was in her system. And if you can fall down however many times and injure yourself this badly to the point that you die, there should be blood all over that residence, and it's not, according to the pictures. And now, y'all, look, I'm at the autopsy pictures. I'm going to talk about one of them. I got to figure out which ones of these I'm going to release. Oh my God, this is horrible. They turn her on her side at the autopsy, and I told you about the tears in her back. It looks like cut marks to me. I mean, it's one that looks like it looks like an X. I hadn't seen this one before because the side. But here's what's worse: you can see where Kim's ribs were because you have lividity, right? The bruising I told you about that set in, bright blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 long, bright blue marks, which are obviously bruising. That's going to be where her ribs were broken. All right. And remember now, she had broken ribs and her lung was punctured. All right. In the autopsy photo, holy shit. You could see the lividity, but it like a teal color. You could see the bruising and they're in the shit. They line up with the ribs. I mean, that's the only thing to explain that is that's the bruising where her ribs are broken. And listen, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm not a pathologist. I've been to a hell of a lot of autopsies though, and I'm telling you what I see. Jeez Louise. All right, y'all. A lot of this I'm not going to put up. It's typical stuff that they do on autopsies when they split you open and all that. But then they get inside her head. And well, no, let's start with the chest. They get inside the chest and they're actually able to show you where the lung is punctured. You can see where the ribs are broken. Now I'm looking at her ribs now. You can see where the ribs are broken. It's amazing. And then when they peel your face off, for lack of a better term, and then they use that bone saw to cut your skull open, and they open it up, I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing. They pull the skull backwards. The whole backside of her skull is filled with dark, congealed blood. That's from the subdural hematoma. That's from the injury. And it is just simply unbelievable. But, you know, the swelling in the face, y'all, and this thing in the middle of the forehead, you're definitely going to get, everybody's going to get to see this. I don't know what in the hell caused this. I've never seen anything like this. But, y'all, that's not the only injury. And I'm looking at it. I just don't understand it. In the residence, there's small droplets of blood directly in front of the ice box, back on the residence photos now. And there was, I mean, like I say drops, definitely not spatter. There are, for some reason they're taking a picture of the wall and measuring, I don't know why. They're taking a picture of the bedstand measuring. Oh shit, there's some blood. There's some blood on, I guess that's the bed. You can't even tell in the pictures. Maybe that's the couch. I can't tell. I mean, if I can't tell, nobody else can be able to tell, but there is some blood on the lamp now, or whatever this fixture is. And that could be consistent with the crime scene having been wiped down afterwards, and they just missed a spot. That's crazy. There's some blood on the freezer is open. There are some blood droplets that are running. Okay, so you got your top freezer and it's open, and that when the ice box is closed on the bottom, there's like 2 little lines of blood draining downwards. Anyway, you know what? Fuck it, I'm stopping. That's enough. I'm gonna put these out. First time ever in the history of real life, real crime. I'm going to choose the ones that are the most respectful, but there's no way to be respectful when you're gonna see what you're gonna see. There's a reason I'm doing it. And the daughter agreed with me. Catherine agreed with me. It's one thing for me to tell you about it. It's one thing for her to tell you about it. It's another thing when you see this and you hear these responses that she did all this to herself. No way. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this is about justice for Kim Womack. Somebody out there knows. And guess what? I know they're listening to this fucking podcast. And I'm going to do one more after this, because it's already been recorded, and it's very important, actually, I think. But I want to drop this, and you'll be getting it next Wednesday, like the last Wednesday of April. And The pictures are going to be put up, and yes, it's hard to look at. Hey, if you've ever heeded my warning, heed it on this episode. Do not go look at these photographs if you can't handle the shit. If you can handle it and you want to help get justice for Kim Womack, go look at them. So you'll know what I'm talking about. You know what the family's been talking about. And then you'll know what these detectives and the sheriff and them have been talking about when they say, oh, well, you must not look at the photos. So when we do a call to action on Kim's case, you can be, if you so choose, you can be properly armed with the knowledge of what you've seen. All right. And that's it, man. I don't want to talk anymore about it today. Just stand by, people. All right. Hashtag Justice for Kim Womack. And I'm going to conclude today's episode, which is hashtag Justice for Kim Womack, now part 5. Real life, real crime announcements. I just want to thank everybody for your support. Patreon, convicts, love you. Thank you so much. I can't do this show without you. I wouldn't be able to help these families without you, that's for sure, or do any of it. And if you want to be a convict or a patron, you can go to any of your social media, look it up. If you have a trouble joining, it's Cindy, CYNDI, at Real Life Real Crime, or Sophie, I think it's SOPHIA, at Real Life Real Crime. Email either one of them, they'll hook you up. Patron members, getting into the app, I cannot put those pictures, the ones I'm not going to put up for everybody else, I can't put them in the regular Facebook private patron page, like I said, because it'll shut us down. So whatever we need to do next week, if you can't get in to see them, let us know. We'll get you swapped over. No problems. But if you can't be a patron member or convict, hey, I totally get it. I love you. Thank you for sharing and continuing to like us. Thank you for all the positive messages and everything and helping us grow. And y'all, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to be in CrimeCon this week. When you hear this, I will actually be in Vegas. So on Podcasters Row for my 2 shows, Real Life, Real Crime, and the new show, Scorched Justice. So y'all stop by and say hi, and I'll be there, and we can hang out and meet and all that. I hadn't got to meet a lot of the West Coast lifers, if you will. And so that's CrimeCon. Next week, I'll be there Thursday to probably Monday morning. So stop by and say hi. I'd love to meet you. And Scorched Justice, y'all, it comes out on Tuesdays now, and we've released 3 episodes. The response has been overwhelming, to say the least. Not overwhelming. It's been outstanding. And we were ranked in the top 40. You're loving it. It's the murders. The first season is the murders of Jessica Lynn Chambers and Ming Xing Shou. It's a great case. I went back and put my own spin on it and went there and actually was there when we walked the grounds that she walked and where she was murdered and everything else. And when I concluded, I think it's 10 parts on the episodes. When I concluded, I think with something that nobody else has ever thought of. So go listen to Scorched Justice. Make sure you subscribe, and please, 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 for Real Life, Real Crime and Scorched Justice, take a minute and leave me a review. Good, bad, or indifferent, I don't care. It's something to do with the algorithms. It helps the show, and it helps other people find the show. So I appreciate that. And thank you all, and I love you so much. Oh, follow me at, I have my regular Instagram, which is at Real Life, Real Crime, and I have at Overton Woody, and now we have at Scorched Justice. Follow us there. The YouTube channel, Real Life, Real Crime Podcast, the LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. If you're a lifer from Honduras and you want to be an organ donor, you can go to lopa.org, sign up for free. It takes about 2 minutes. You don't have to be from Louisiana to do it. The LOPA is a Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. It's a nonprofit. They save lives every day. Be a hero. Sign up to be an organ donor. Give the gift of life and everything else those great people do. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?